Yo, welcome to Sig Slayers, the comic interview show, period. I'm Mike the Sig Slayer, chilling with Mark the Honorable Villain. What up, fam?
What's up, Mike? We're here with a young writer and comic shop owner. This guy owns two of the hottest comic shops in SoCal, man. Let him know who we got, Mike.
That is right. We have writer and owner of Arsenal Comics, Timmy Heague, joining us. But before we chop it up with Timmy, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and please comment. All right. Our next guest is the owner of two of SoCal's most popular comic shops, Arsenal Comics, and writer of several Archies. Most recently, Archie versus Minor Threats. Ladies and gentlemen of the Stash Land, we bring to you Timmy Heague. How you doing?
Hey, I'm great. I'm in Oakland right now for Oakland's Cape and Cowl Con, hosted by my buddy Eton at Cape and Cowl Comics. I'm having a great weekend. Life's good.
Oh, that's fantastic, man. Well, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join us. We're going to just dive right on in.
Yeah,
and so, Timmy, since it's your first time joining us, we'd like to get your comic book origin story. But here's a little twist. You're owner of Arsenal Comics, so we're going to start there. Yeah. How did you become a shop owner?
Oh man, I realized comics were just the thing I always was good at. You know, I was very young. I was about 19, 20 when I was debating this life, and I was a teenager working at a comic shop. I was working at the comic shop I had frequented since I was 8 years old, and I started working there since I was 15. I left around 18, 19. And then I came back and, I was in that stage of my life, what do I want to do with myself? What's my future entail? And I always had dreams of being a writer, but I have this small business, blood in me. My old man owns a small business retail shop, and I'd always just been kind of hustling since day one, weird enough. When I got into comics at age 8, I really got into comics. Not just was I obsessed with continuity, characters, history, creators. I dived all in every aspects of comicdom. I was all in at such an early age. But I was into the collecting, the bag and boarding, the cataloging, the organization of it. And then I was also into just the collectability of it. But I knew though, what for real collectability was. I wouldn't just think something was valuable because I was an 8-year-old kid looking at it and go, wow, that must be expensive. I went through Wizard Magazine. I'd be using the internet. I got hardcore with it. And so with that being said, I was like that with toys and comics, where if I knew something was hot or, valuable or was on the up and up, I would buy multiples and then sell them on eBay. I had an eBay account at age 10. I was that much a little weirdo. And so I was just always grinding, and it was just for me more ways to buy more comics, more toys. And my old man would have me at his store as early as age 8, working the weekends, a military surplus shop. And so that was how I got that was how I got my allowance for Wednesdays and back issues on a Sunday. And it was rock and roll. My old man encouraged my love for this nerdy thing he knew nothing about. And he also gave me great work ethic. And so flash forward, I'm at that stage in my life where what do I want to do? And I know I was pretty early to start having that talks, but I was just getting frustrated at the shop I was working at. And I just knew I could do it better. And I hate to sound like that, but I was young, I was hot-headed, but it kind of just really got to me. And I just decided, you know what, I'm going to commit myself to this. All these characters I'm obsessed with always have a hero's journey, origin story, where they just figure their shit out. And how am I going to do this? They make a commitment to themselves. So at age 20, I really slowed down on a social life, hanging out with friends. I was in a band. I stopped doing that. And I was you know what? I'm gonna make a business plan. I'm going to get a small savings. I'm going to get going. I had that from, all the hustling I did, all the jobs. I had it from when I was a musician. I was in a wedding band. That's the band I was in. So it was, it helped. And, I of course had my own collection, still from, to bring into a shop if I was going to open up. And, Yeah, I was very fortunate to meet. I had a partner when I opened up who really helped. He invested in with me. He had this great artistic vision for the shop that really, it was just we were like peanut butter and jelly. It was awesome. And for a kid who was in his early 20s at the time, like he needed that help. And so all the pieces came together: the business loan, a partner that made sense, my small savings I collected, and I opened up on my 22nd birthday. And the big thing about the store that I always got to like say to people that kind of like really made it pop and happen was I was the first shop in my county. Looking back now, I really think I was the first store in the SoCal area, if not greater and beyond, to really utilize social media with their business. Everything you see like a store do now that like they're known for, I would be like doing that when nobody was watching and like really talking about it, but like hyper locally people saw it. So when I first like opened up, like I'd be doing, videos, I'd be doing graphic posts. Like I was like, you couldn't go on Facebook or Instagram or even Twitter at the time without seeing my store opening up and like the early days of it. And we had a grand big old opening, and yeah, that was in 2014. So just shy of 11 years now, September. I opened up on my 22nd birthday, and yeah, it's been rock and roll. It's definitely been my own hero's journey. There were some trials and tribulations, of course, through the years, some, rises, some falls. But I'm happy to say I'm in a really good place now with my stores. I love them more than ever. Things are rocking and rolling. And, I've really found life, Mr. Miyagi always says life's all about balance. And I think I finally found my balance of, just having my shops that make, that just make sense and it makes me happy and it doesn't stress me out as much. Don't get me wrong. Some days just shit happens,
Yeah, well, what are the biggest challenges? I was about to ask that. What are the biggest challenges of running the shop? And you have two.
Yeah, I do have two. And, just the biggest is always just the big one is always cash flow. Just preparing for some weeks, are busier than others and all that, and just really navigating because, you'll have a slow week, but then the next week you got like big orders due. So you got to like have a little nest going, and just really kind of see the future and prepare. So you're not screwed for when like you're ready to go all in on like, a big week of comics, like, like a huge release week and, all like new Pokemon, new Magic releases and, just really making sure you got like a nice nest egg to prepare for the slow days. That's what I always tell, like when people are like saying they want to open up their own business, I'm always like, just prepare for rainy days. That's huge. Like this weekend is so hot in SoCal. Yesterday I see all my sales because I'm neurotic on my phone. So like yesterday I was seeing it while I'm out of town and I was like, I was expecting a little busier Friday, but then I was like, oh yeah, it's like close to 100 degrees. Like that's going to stop people. So that's like a big one. The other one I always say is like no store, especially comic shop, is successful without a really good team. And I'm really thankful right now that I truly believe that right now in the year of our Lord 2025, I have the best team in comics. Like it's the best version of a team I've ever had too. Like just everyone is just so on point. We all just share the same mission and like relate, like having people on a team, like I've realized, and this is kind of like a life philosophy too now I figured out, is I don't want to work for someone and I don't want to have someone work for me. I want to work with people and I want them to work with me. Like I that's the dynamic I want. If we don't vibe, we don't vibe. It's all good. But I'm happy to say that everyone I'm working with in life right now, whether it's in my stores, whether it's like on creative projects, just the vibes are good. I'm very thankful for it. So yeah, I would definitely say just making sure your team, you're all on the same page. That's super key. Just management, being a manager of managers or just a manager in general, that can be a really big challenge some days. So that's like definitely the hardest. Being a leader isn't for everybody. I don't think I want to be a leader, but I at least want to be close to it. I think maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, Timmy, you sound like a true businessman. I know it's redundant asking this question as a comic shop owner, but what books do you collect? And
that's a great question. So I'm all in on comics. The worst years of my life and my career were the years that like it was year 3, 4. I had just expanded my first location and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. And I think I was so stressed out doing things that I thought would help me in the stores. But I messed up, and like I was just, all I wanted to do every day of my life was work, grind, and just figuring out how to just be okay. And it was not the move. I didn't give myself a chance to love life, to have a breather, to really look at things thoroughly, to look within myself and my stores in that period. All I could think of was what was in front of me. I couldn't think of the bigger picture. And one of the biggest casualties in that era of my life was I lost out on a lot of friendships, a lot of relationships, but I also didn't read comics in that like year to 2 years. And that's the worst period of my life, because like this whole point of my existence in this journey of mine is comic books, whether that's, you know, reading them, celebrating them, promoting them, selling them, whatever. And that era of my life, I look back and I just like, I never want to go back there. So now every day of my life, I try and make sure to read as much comics as possible, whether it's single issues, a graphic novel. So I'm always reading. I'm always trying to read, you know, what's coming out, what's good. I wish I was better in the sense that like I could, because I know retailer buddies of mine that like read a bunch of PDFs, like when books are on order on FOC. I wish that was me. I hate reading comics digitally, so that's a big deterrent for me. You know, sometimes I will read them, like all the Absolute books I read digitally before they came out. I just couldn't help myself. So I did that. But like in terms of collecting, honestly, ever since I started like writing for Archie really consistently and like living in Riverdale, and my tenure in Riverdale is like nowhere close to being done. So like I'll be there for a while. I mean, I make the joke I got a summer home in Riverdale at this point. So now like whenever I'm on the road, if I see like a shop that has like vintage Archie books or like cool covers, I'll pick those up for myself. We always buy collections at my stores, but we don't get Archie in too much. But if we do, if there's some that catches my eye, like I'll take them home and add them to the collection. But yeah, that's pretty much it with collecting. Other than that, I'm a huge, one of my mentors in like comics and just life in general, and I'm very lucky to call him a great friend, is Mike Allred. I've been obsessed with Mike Allred since I was like a kid, and I met him when I was a teenager, and it was like a good case of meet your heroes, and we've just always stayed in touch. And through the years, we've just become great pals, and he's been this just comic book mentor of mine. And yeah, so I got like every comic book appearance of Madman, and then pretty much all his like covers and anything else he's ever done interiors. Yeah, it's wild. Like during the pandemic, like a month in the closure, my parents' house got broken into during like a tent for, you know, extermination. And that was like the first thing I looked to see if they grabbed my comics. And thank God those books were still there, the Allred books. Cause like they were like personalized, you know, like from when I was like 15, 14. So like, you know, by the end of the day for me, I was like, say I'm a sentimental softie. So like, I don't really care about like value. It's the memories, you know?
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, so another thing Arsenal Comics is known for is the autograph signings with some of the best names in the game. And so what's the process of inviting talent to your shop?
You know, I think a big part of it all is just like everything in life's all about relationships. And I'm very thankful that, you know, I have a lot of relationships with creators, and other creators will vouch for me, vouch for my store. And they also see the way I promote events. So they know there's always going to be a turnout if they show up, because unfortunately a lot of stores don't utilize their promotion tools, and they'll have an event and it's horror stories where a creator shows up and there's no audience in front of the table. So people know that like, you know, there's a draw for when I have that stuff. And really, I'm just thankful to have a lot of creators be my friends. So it's really easy to coordinate. But yeah, it's really just, I'm very thankful to say that like I've reached a point where like if there's a creator I don't know, chances are I do know someone that knows them, and I can get an email going and we can make it happen. And of course I try and tie it in with like comic book promotion of new releases they have going, and you know, or a new graphic novel, because you know, to keep this industry going and being successful and thriving, you know, you really got to put focus on, you know, just the up and coming stuff, what's out there. And if they have a back catalog of already established stuff, great, you know, we'll have some trades on their table, some graphic novels, order that up. Yeah, you can't go wrong with a store signing. You really can't. You know, it gives a reason for people to come in. It's a great time, and it gives a great way for creators to spotlight their new stuff or their old stuff.
Timmy, switching gears to your career as a writer.
Yeah.
How'd you get your first gig in pro comics?
So it's all connected. After the pandemic, well, kind of like during it really. I started dipping my toes in exclusive covers with my shops. And my whole thing with exclusive covers is you could do it two ways. You could have it be where a publisher gives you a cover by an artist and like, hey, do you want to be this do you want to have this exclusively to your store? Or you can come up with the cover idea, the artist. And for me, it was always the latter. I wanted to have something that I had creative, just influence in, an idea of mine. And it was really fun. And it turned out being a nice little successful stream of revenue for me. But really, for me, it was just about the fun of creating this item, this comic. And, I'd always dabbled in writing as a teenager, like pitch outlines and scripts just for fun, whether it was my own creations, whether it was other people's IP. And like a big motivation in my teenage years of, wanting to be a writer was Will Eisner. I picked up on a whim Will Eisner's Guide to Sequential Art. That is the greatest book about comic books and how to make comics. No questions asked. That book is the end all be all for me. It changed the way I looked at the medium. It changes the way I make comics, I read comics, how I see them. And when I do I'll do classes at colleges, high schools, middle schools, whatever, where I'll do a comic course with a professor or a teacher. And that's always the book I tell them to put on the curriculum or the book I bring in. And so that book really, is always in my head when it comes to creating comics. And it just, when I picked it up at age 12, it just never left me. And so I'm doing these exclusive covers. I'm in my mid-20s at this point, and I just really want to take it to the next level. And I started bringing out the old pitches, outlines, started doing some new stuff. And with Archie, I was just doing a bunch of covers with them. It worked for me. The artists they'd let me choose were for my friends, and the ideas were clicking, and I found myself great ways of moving them through the Archie groups online, on Facebook, Reddit. It was working for me. Archie was a publisher that of characters I loved. I'd been reading these characters since I was a kid, all their shows, the Riverdale show, their animated series, loved their Archie horror stuff. And so I was like, all right, yeah, I got some ideas. And, I always knew when it comes to comics and making comics and pitching, you got to do it the right way. You got to make sure you're not just blindly, throwing it at an editor. So I reached out to one of my contacts, and they're at Archie, and I asked, and they were like, yeah, of course, fill out this form. Here's the email to send it to, and, email, this editor when you submit it. And I got the okay. And then it was time, which pitches do I choose? And one night, which all of this in this 2 months span was a 2 month span, because in Ventura County, what's wild, and you guys are LA based, right? So I'm sure you experience this too. When it rains, life stands still. Nobody just wants to do anything. And it was in 2022, January, February, it was storms of January and February, just constant rain, and business was pretty slow for me. And so, I wasn't leaving my house. I was writing a lot at home. And so one rainy night, I got Afterlife with Archie. I'm reading it for the umpteenth time. And then on TV in the background, I have that Megan, M3 GAN, at the time, which, was a pretty big thing. And I was just looking at Afterlife Archie. I was looking at the TV, looking back at my comic, and I was like, oh, okay, Killer Dolls in Riverdale. And so that was one of the pitches. And I knew from there on, that was my best pitch. And 3 to 4 months later, I didn't hear back. And I was very naive at this point, not knowing the other side of the industry, not knowing how crazy swamp, editors can be, how everything takes time. And so I kind of gave up on it. I was like, it was a fun exercise. It was a fun dream. Oh, well. And then a week later, after moving on, I got the email. Hey, so this is the pitch we want to move forward with. It's similar to an idea we were already wanting to do. And so let's kind of merge, you do a little bit of your idea. Here's what we wanted for the story. Can you make it work? And I was over the moon. And it just, once it started, I never wanted it to stop. It was like an itch that I just couldn't, I couldn't ever shake. And from then on, like I've been so happy to be in Riverdale, doing anything Archie horror, anything classic traditional Archie, and then everything else I've done with other publishers has been great. And I'm very thankful to say that this current crossover with Dark Horse and Archie has been a huge success and a huge blast. And I got a couple more crossovers on the way. I got some creator-owned stuff I'm doing next year, finally taking that big plunge. And yeah, it's just, I love comics. This is just, I'm very thankful for this writing journey, and very thankful for all the publishers and my co-creators. And yeah, it's been a huge honor.
You talked a little bit about Will Eisner.
Yeah.
I wanted to see who else are some of your creative and writing influences. And also, is there a character that you would love to work on?
You know, like in terms of influences, you know, obviously Michael Allred, of course. Whenever I think of like panel layouts and dynamic, like just way to use the page, I think of early Neil Adams X-Men. That's always in my head. I of course think of Kirby in every aspect of my life, you know. In terms of like modern writing, I've always been like a big Kirkman guy. Like Invincible, I got in on like issue 8 as a kid. So like I've always been a big Kirkman guy, so I'm always thinking of like the way he uses narratives and just, you know, way he does plots. But I'm like really thankful for, in terms of influence, like my co-creators and just like my collaborators on comics. Like I'm super thankful to have Patton Oswalt and Jordan Bloom. Like to write a miniseries with them has just been just such, I can't express enough like how thankful I am. Like their friendship means everything to me, and just their guidance. Like I went into this a certain type of writer, and I've come out of this miniseries just so much better writer. Like I'm just super thankful. Like Jordan is such a criminally underrated comic book writer. Like him and Patton both really, like they cook. Like they're like.
How did you get hooked up with them?
So I'd had them at my store for when they first launched Minor Threats, and we just vibed, we stayed in touch. And then I had started doing in about like 20, you know, I felt at the end of 2023, but it was really in 2022, the end of 22, there was like that mini like recession, and it really hit me in 2023. And by like end of 23, early 24, I was thinking of other ways I could generate income to kind of, you know, just get back my nest egg, get myself back on my feet, but in a way that didn't involve a hustle, like something else to flip. And I looked at how I marketed my stores. I looked at how I marketed my own comics. And so many people always like, that was just something I know I'm good at. Like people always tell me. And I had a friend, and we're still great friends. He rules. Tony Fleece, awesome comic creator. Awesome.
Shout out to Tony Fleece. That's the homie.
Yeah, he's great. And we started working together on marketing his comics. We launched Feral, Uncanny Valley, and just everything in between. Anything Tony Fleece, I would help him out on. And me and him did that for about a year. And in that process of doing it, Jordan saw it, Patton saw it. And, you know, when you work with a publisher, they only have so much like time and bandwidth to promote your book. Unfortunately, that's just like the fact of the matter. And so they hired me on to like see if I could help elevate their stuff, which I did. And from then on, me and Jordan and Patton just clicked. And, you know, I started working with Patton on other capacity, like other projects, like in his career and life. And me and Jordan, you know, just became great pals. And it, you know, I never went into this thinking I'd ever work with them. Like I think so highly of them. I just was realistic. You know, I'm just such this new fish in the industry. You know, they are just so established. And one day we did a signing. Well, they did it, and I was just there to hang out and, you know, to take some pics and do some video and, you know, do some content. And you know, we got food after. We were hanging out, and we were just talking about the future of Minor Threats and like the publishing line. And we all just started talking about like how cool it'd be if there was a crossover. And then, well, who would we cross over with? And then, Archie was thrown around, and I wasn't even thinking about myself. Like, I was just thinking of like the idea of how fun that project is, and like how it elevate, how it would bring fans to, Minor Threats from the Archie side, Archie fans to the Minor Threat side, and just, comic book readers who want to read fun crossovers. And then Jordan's like, well, who do we have write it? And Patton just points at me and goes, what about this guy? And I was like, all right, like, I'm not going to say no. And yeah, it's been the thrill of a lifetime. And Scott Koblish is a really, really good longtime friend of mine, and he was the artist since day one I wanted for this project. And I'm very, very thankful that my first pick was chosen for this project. And he really brought this book to life. Like, I've really learned with this crossover that the epitome of a great comic book creative process is you turn in a script, and then when you get that email back with the artwork, it's going to look 100 times better than what you ever envisioned it. That is the epitome of having a great comic book artist. Like, making comics has turned me into a guy who loves getting emails. Nothing cooler than like open up the inbox and there it is. And yeah, Koblish is the man. He also is a criminally underrated artist, in my opinion. Like,
world record holder. Record holder. Most
exactly.
Characters on the cover.
Yes, and it's so funny. Someone tried to like one up him on that, and then he immediately it got it back. It was so funny. It was so, because like, he's such a mild-mannered dude. Like, I didn't expect that. Like, it caught me off guard, and it was just so funny. Like, I love when people like just give you a glimpse of like their inside mind, like, oh, that guy's gonna one up me. Not happening. But it was awesome.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, we interviewed Scott last year. He talked about that. I was like, yeah, you got the passion of Jordan right there. That's some Jordan
right.
shit right there.
That's right. That's right. And also, he's Dorian Gray. Guy does not age. It is crazy. Crazy. Like, he's like in his 50s. Dude has looked like he's in his early 40s for like 15 years now. It's crazy. Crazy. Like, everyone tells me comics don't keep you young. That guy says otherwise. It's crazy.
Timmy, how do you guys break up the writing duties on Archie versus Minor Threats? Because all three of you guys are writing it at the same time.
Yeah.
Right?
So we plotted and outlined it all together, and then I will do an outline of an issue, send it over to the guys. They'll do their fine tuning. They send it back, and then I'll start scripting, and then I'll do a script. They'll do a pass. They'll tweak some stuff. They'll put in some stuff. Like, I gotta say, like, I'm very thankful to be able to work with someone else's characters and then literally work with them on their characters, because like, no one's going to know these characters better than the people that created them. So like, if I ever have any doubt in my head about like the dialogue of their Minor Threats characters not being authentic, all good, because they swoop in and they really make it authentic, which is really nice. And so yeah, I'll do a pass, they do a pass, I'll do a pass, and then once we're happy with it, we'll send it to editorial at Dark Horse, and they'll go through it, and then they'll send it to Archie for Archie editorial. And I'm such like an Archie nerd that I really get a kick out of it. I don't know if Scott gets as much of a kick as me, because when Archie editorial gets in, then it's like Scott who has to like mostly change some stuff, just making stuff like Archie's expression needs to be like this, and like just little shit like that, which I dig, because like no one's gonna know Archie more than the people who work at Archie full time. So I get a kick out of like seeing like what their authentic true vision is for these characters. And don't get me wrong, they've had some stuff like story wise and dialogue wise that they've helped out with and had us correct or want us to like hash out with them, and which has been fun. We do a really big swing with issue 3 that no one's going to really see going, and we essentially create our own continuity for both characters, and people swap places, and the cover's out there, so it's kind of already known that's going to happen. But yeah, like the Minor Threats characters become Archified, the Archie characters become Minor Threatsified, and because the whole cool thing about Minor Threats is it's a world of 60 years of continuity, and you're just thrown into it, and you don't need to know about the backstory, the history. You just get thrown in, And we do that again, but you know, now it's an Archie Minor Threats, like if they've all coexisted, you know, since day one, you know, like switching places since day one, and it's a blast. And you know, giving Archie the motivation to be a bad guy, and you know, turning, you know, Minor Threats characters into wholesome Riverdale teenagers. Issue 3 is fucking bonkers. Like it's nuts. And with this Archie project, like I kind of look at comics sometimes like, well, this is the last comic I'm ever gonna do. God forbid, I really want to make it matter. And so with an Archie miniseries, I didn't know at this point in my life if I'd be doing another one. Thankfully I am, but I didn't know that. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to try and make sure there's something in this for every Archie fan, and make it like just a love letter to Archie. So I threw in, you know, a lot of style of the traditional classics. There's a lot of Mark Waid Archie in there. There's a lot of Archie horror. Issue 3 and 4 is a lot of Archie horror. So just like there's an Archie era for everybody in the book. And at the same time, like I'm really thankful for Koblish, because like his style of the characters is like very timeless, modern, but like still retro. And I really hope I get a chance to cook with him on more Archie stuff, because I really love his designs for the character and the way he makes them flow. It's awesome.
Timmy, we're on our very last question. Yeah. Is there something that we haven't talked about you want the supporters to know about? Any upcoming appearances?
I realized though I didn't answer one of your questions of what character I'd want to work on.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I definitely like wanted, you know, write for every character possible, like every publisher. Like I love all of comic history, and you know, Marvel, DC, all those worlds, all those characters. I like to make the joke that I got like that Tom King in me, where I just want to like do all like the D-listers, the C-listers, you know, and like give them like their definitive stories. Like I'm such a sucker for that. But I made the joke last night. I'm a really big Muppets guy, and Marvel's doing Muppet covers right now. And I made the joke last night that I'm going to be the most insufferable piece of diva shit if they actually make Muppet comics and I'm not on that book. Like, I will be just insufferable to everybody around me. I will be Miss Piggy incarnate. Like, Muppet comics is like, Muppets is the thing I've probably done in like the last like decade where I've spent the most free time like doing imaginary what if pitches, like writing them down, like typing it up, knowing full well that this will probably never happen. But yeah, now that it's possible, now I'm just like, make mine Marvel, like come on. Yeah, I'll write everybody. Like I dabble in the world of Valiant, and you know that's fun, and you know, so I write Valiant, and that's, you know, I just like writing comics. Like the way my brain works is if I've read that character, if I have some connection to it, some knowledge, I will find a way to make a story that's authentic to me and is actually something I want to tell. That's my rule. I'm never going to take a gig if I don't have any knowledge. Now, granted, I say that now, maybe it'll change because, you know, oh, that just sounds cool, or, you know, maybe I just want to write a comic. But like, yeah, at this point, if I've read them, if I love them, I'll do it. But yeah, back to the whole anything else. I don't know, just you know, if you're listening, let your local comic shop know you want the second issue of Archie Minor Threats. It's out September 24th, the day after my birthday. So yeah, happy birthday to me. Go buy the second issue. The series runs all the way till November. And then also Minor Threats Volume 3 is out in October as well, the first issue. And you can pick up Patton Jordan and Scott Hepburn's. That's what's really funny about this crossover. We've added another Scott into our world of Minor Threats, so it doesn't get confusing at all at times. Yeah, Scott Hepburn is Minor Threats co-creator and artist. Scott Koblish is Minor Threats Archie artist. But yeah, just and also just, you know, support your local comic shop. We got to keep this, you know, this industry not just surviving but thriving. And I'd like to think we're all in a good place right now. Everyone's putting out some awesome stuff we're all really excited about. Yeah, just you know, it's a crossover year. It's kind of, I never thought I'd like have a crossover come out. Like having a crossover is my first 4-issue miniseries. So that's really cool. Like my first 4-issue miniseries is a publisher crossover. But I'll be sharing the rack with a Marvel DC crossover. That's crazy. Yeah, we got Deadpool Batman coming up. How fun's that?
That is fantastic. Timmy, thank you so much for joining us. This has been an insightful interview. You always have a home here on the Sig Slayers station, so believe that, man.
Love that. I'll be back. Please.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, that's all for our show. If you like what you see, please subscribe and hit the like button. This is Sig Slayers. I'm Mike, speaking for Mark and Timmy Heague. We are out.
Cool.
Peace.
Sig Slayers.